Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Brakahakudash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well, and whom I learned this truth from. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off with Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And this is speaking of World War I, which of course is past, World War II, which is past, and the upcoming third woe, World War III, which will go nuclear. And the two main combatants in it is going to be the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, that daughter of Babylon, as well as Russia, which is known as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, as well as the North Country in Jeremiah chapter 50. And I've got an article that I'm going to go through in this video just to show that with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to these two Edomite countries going at each other and nukes flying. This is an article from Newsweek.com titled, Russian Rally Urges Putin to Strike U.S. with Nuke-Capable Satan II Missile. And that's exactly what Russia is going to do. Russia is going to be the main nation leading the charge in shooting nuclear missiles onto the United States of America during World War III. And if you know anything about the Satan II missile, they say it has the capability to destroy an area the size of Texas or I believe they said France as well. And the United States of America is going to get hit by 200 million nuclear missiles, not only from its enemies like Russia and China, but also its allies like Britain, France, and these other NATO nations that are going to turn against her at some point during World War III to ally themselves with Russia. And it's going to turn the United States of America into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And like I just said, when we see information like this come out, hey, we know that with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to this nuclear inevitability. Russia's also planning on doing another testing of its Satan II nuclear missile. And the other day, you had I believe he was the head of the Russian Orthodox Church pretty much say to Vladimir Putin, do whatever you need to do to protect us. And what should come to mind? The use of nuclear missiles. And it's also no coincidence that over these past couple of years, all these countries have been building back up their nuclear arsenals and leaving these nuclear weapons bans and nuclear weapons proliferation treaties, because the Most High is gearing all these nations up towards this nuclear-armed third woe. A rally recently held in Moscow saw attendees and leaders calling for Russian President Vladimir Putin to launch a nuclear strike against Washington, D.C. A clip from the rally was shared to Twitter on Saturday morning by Julia Davis, creator of the Russian Media Monitor and columnist for the Daily Beast. In the video, a man can be seen leading a crowd of people through the streets of Moscow and through chants calling for attacks on Washington. Strike the decision-making centers, the man leading the crowd shouts. On Washington, a flight task for the Sarmat missile. On Washington, Sarmat, strike the enemy's cities. On Washington, USA is the enemy. We will go to heaven as martyrs. They will simply croak. The Sarmat missile referred to during the rally is the RS-28 Sarmat Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, ICBM, a thermonuclear weapon added to Russia's arsenal in 2018 and nicknamed the Satan II. And besides the Sarmat, Russia has a bunch of hypersonic weapons out there that are nuclear capable that they're deploying into their militaries as well, such as the Zircon. And here's that clip from Julia Davis's Twitter page. Meanwhile, in Russia, a rally demanding for Moscow to strike Washington, they cite Putin's words, "We will go to heaven as martyrs," and they will simply croak. Hey, the Most High is putting the spirit on all these major players in biblical prophecy to fulfill their roles. Hey, this is just an example of Ezekiel chapter 38, I believe verse 3, where it says, "I will put hooks into thy jaws and turn thee back." Speaking of Gog or Russia, the Most High putting that old confrontational Cold War Soviet Union spirit back onto these Russian Edomites. But in this case, hey, those Russians are going to use those nukes, unlike the Cold War.
Попадем в рай, они просто сдохнут! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон!
And the only place those Russian Edomites are going that survived the nukes during World War III is straight into slavery, along with these other Edomites and other heathen nations after the dust settles, when Yahushai Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, along with the 144,000, the men of the Lord who are fishers of men right now, they're going to be hunters of men in that day with new spiritual bodies like Black Adam, dragging you heathens out wherever you're hiding from and slapping chains on you, beginning with your elites.
Целься, Иван, Ахмат, запускай на Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! Сражайся, Дон, Сармат, главный патрон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! Мы, как мученики, попадем в рай! Они просто сдохнут! На...
And in a video I did a couple of weeks ago, I profiled a clip from the Canadian Prepper's YouTube channel where he was showing that the U.S. Department of Defense is getting real nervous about Russia's missiles technology, and they should be, because the Most High has put the spirit on these Russian Edomite scientists and weapons makers to create much more advanced missiles and nuclear weapons technology than the American Edomites, so they can perfectly fulfill their role in burning this whore with nuclear fire.
Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! Моя цель, мой шеврон! Наша цель, наш шеврон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! За Россию! За Россию! За Россию! За Россию! Против садомии! Против садомии! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон!
Against Satania, against Washington, against Satan, which the United States of America is that great Satan or adversary, as well as the rest of you Edomites out there. So with this clip in this article, as we can clearly see, the drums of war are beating, and we truly aren't living in a time of peace or happiness or the economy getting better or make America great again or build back better, any of that bullshit. As it says, let's go to it. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, to everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And do you think we're living in a time of peace and love and dancing and healing, or a time of killing, hate, war, death, and destruction? Well, according to what we're seeing in the news and according to the scriptures, we know exactly what time we're living in. This is Jeremiah chapter 50. I'm going to start at verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the north country being Russia, and what's north of the U.S., Canada, that Arctic Ocean region, and then Russia. And I've done plenty of videos in the past to show that Russia is building back up its military presence, nuclear capable, in that Arctic Ocean region, and also that Russia shooting missiles from itself across the north, that Arctic Ocean region, as well as from its assets in the Arctic Ocean region to hit its targets in the U.S. would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach the U.S. And that assembly of great nations are not only Russia's allies like China, North Korea, or Iran, but also America's allies that, like I said earlier, are going to turn against her at some point during World War III and ally themselves with the North country. Britain, France, Germany, these other NATO nations, etc., etc. Read Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, and the 10 horns, which is speaking of the EU or European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO. These shall hate the whore that rideth upon the beast, the United States, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire, nuclear fire. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And those aren't talking about arrows being shot by Geronimo or Robin Hood. Those are talking about nuclear missiles. Because when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they weren't going to say a Zircon hypersonic missile, Fat Man or Little Boy, or the Sarmat II. They had to describe these visions the best way they could with what they knew during their times. Ancient weapons of war like bows and arrows, spears, javelins, flying swords, you name it. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, that north country Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, from the ends of the earth, an assembly of great nations, not just Russia's allies, but America's own allies that are going to turn against her. They shall hold the bow and the lance, and bows shoot arrows. So this is talking about the silos and other launch platforms that these missiles are going to be fired from. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses. Everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. And when you go to Psalms chapter 139, read verses about 7 to 9, you'll see that these Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. Now I'm going to jump up to verse 40. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh, and the Most High destroyed ancient Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone from the sky. And besides being known as the daughter of Babylon in the scriptures, the United States of America is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And it's easy to see why the U.S. is known as spiritual Sodom. This is the #1 nation that pushes the alphabet lifestyle, beginning with LG, onto the rest of the planet. Through Hollywood, its other social media platforms, its policies, etc., etc. What do we have back in June? Pride Month. And then just recently, I was talking to a family member about my stepniece, and she's about 12 years old right now. And my family member was telling me that she can't decide whether she wants to deal with boys or girls. This place clearly is spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. And just like ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was overthrown with fire and brimstone, this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be overthrown with modern day fire and brimstone. those 200 million nuclear missiles. So shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. When those missiles hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then that desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again. And after a time, only desert creatures are going to dwell here, as it says up in verse 39. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And we know this isn't talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq. People are still dwelling there to this very day. It's talking about that spiritual Babylon, that daughter of Babylon, that great whore who's about to get cleansed of her STDs, so to speak, by those nuclear missiles. And when everything's said and done, the former United States of America is going to stand as an eternal memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looked like, how not to govern the earth, and what the judgment and punishment was for afflicting the apple of the Most High's eye, the true children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. And as we can clearly see in the media with these so-called black entertainers and celebrities, which they're not black, they're Israelites, more specifically of the tribe of Judah. Hey, the truth of who the Israelites are is being talked about more and more out there. Hey, the controversy of Zion is making itself more apparent. And whether those celebrities are set up or they're doing it of their own volition, hey, you can't hide from the truth or the scriptures of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, no more than the United States of America won't be able to hide from this nuclear destruction, which is quickly coming her way. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong, as we can clearly see we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, primarily from this whore, the United States of America. So as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.